All right, good morning. I'm attorney B. Ivory Lamar. I represent Amira Walls in what was a very tragic situation that we've all come to learn about that occurred on March 28th. We are gathered here today in front of the mall where this tragic situation took place. As you can expect, this is a very troubling situation for Amira to be back present for. What took place about almost a week and a half ago was preventable, it was unnecessary, and unfortunately, we now have what could be lifelong injuries as a result of that. Now, I'll say at the onset, Amira, obviously she's in a great deal of pain. Obviously, it's triggering for her to come back to the place where this situation happened at, but it's necessary. For the actions of the defendants that in this case in which we filed yesterday, this is a triggering situation, but it's necessary for us to bring to the attention the acts and the omissions of the defendants in this matter. And we think that justice cannot wait. As a result, therefore, we filed this lawsuit expeditiously to ensure that no one endures the type of pain, the type of agony that Amira has. I will say this, obviously this case has gone on social media. It's been very viral. It has reached not only inside our state, but across the country. And as a result of that, there's a couple things that we want to clear up at the onset. As we have maintained from the very beginning, Amira was not an aggressor in this situation. She was not just fighting. In fact, we've been very consistent with bringing to the attention that Amira was trying to intervene to prevent a fight. She was trying to de-escalate and break up a fight that had occurred. And unfortunately, while she was trying to achieve that, she ultimately had to defend herself. At such point, K-9 handler got to the scene, and obviously we know the rest. We've seen the video. Now, part of our lawsuit, there's a lot of different claims. It's a pretty extensive lawsuit. There's 13 different counts. I want to also acknowledge that violence doesn't have any place in our community. We make no excuse for that. Shouldn't happen in a mall, shouldn't happen anywhere. And we as a community have to reach our arms around these situations to make sure that we have corrective measures and solutions to ensure these things don't happen. But when it comes to Amira, who is now dealing with very serious complications, she was not fighting. She was a person that was trying to break up a fight and ultimately had to defend herself. So we want to make sure that that's clear. Now, as it relates to the actions of the defendants in this case, there's questions surrounding why we brought the lawsuit so quickly. Well, we think it's imperative that we want to make sure that there is also always a legitimate investigation that takes place in these situations. Obviously, I want to thank my team who has been very aggressive and intentional with trying to gather the actual facts. Not supportive statements and assertions that support a defendant's position, but getting the actual facts of a situation. And that's what we've been doing. What we don't see on the video footage that has now circulated across this country is we don't see Amira kicking anyone. In fact, it's very much needed to be understood that K-9 handlers are charged with doing one thing and one thing only, and that is to handle the K-9. It is one job where it's unacceptable to multitask. You should not be trying to break up altercations and also trying to manage the K-9 at the same time, which we believe was very imperative for his duty that failed to be realized back on March 28th. The other thing that we think is a gross deviation from the standard of care is that there was no call to 911 whatsoever by the security staff at this mall. So we now have injuries that resulted. There was no 911 call about the altercation at all, and now there was no call about the animal bite that took place. So as a result of that, we have claims, part of our lawsuit, for negligence per se, for the failure to follow Wisconsin statute 95.21 to quarantine a dog that has bit someone. The dog was supposed to be quarantined for 10 days. That did not happen. It was supposed to be observed by a vet. That did not happen. And what we now learn is that the handler was terminated within 24 hours. Obviously, it couldn't be a thorough investigation, but that just goes to prove our point of how much of a deviation it was for industry standards on how the incident unfolded back on March 28th. The other thing that we really find troubling is that when law enforcement came to this scene and tried to investigate based off of complaints of disorderly conduct, they told them they didn't want their intervention. They told them there was no reason to come, there was not necessary for them to get involved here. There was no police report filed on that day. It was only the victim, who's my client, who went to the police officer's station after she sought treatment for what took place the day before. That is unacceptable. What are they trying to hide? There's no reason for a K-9 dog to be transferred out of this state line. Why? What business does the K-9, who is named Blue, have to be in Indiana? What is the purpose? Why was it important for you to go outside of Wisconsin the next day? What business does Blue have? So I'll just put it simply. They can move the K-9 out of state, they can fire the scapegoat, but they cannot outrun justice. And that is what we're here for. That is the purpose of this lawsuit, and we find it important and imperative to preserve evidence related to this case. Now, with that being said, I will take a couple questions.
Can you describe Amira's injuries?
I can tell you she's been through almost 5 providers at this point. She has trembling to her legs. She has shaking, involuntary spasms that are occurring. Obviously, you can imagine the scarring. She's also in therapy for the the psychological and mental aspects of what has taken place. There's been changes to her appetite, obviously sleep issues as a result of this. So there's a host of different issues that she's now seeking treatment for at this point.
In terms of the bite itself, stitches, puncture wounds, describe that for me.
Yes. Did you want to go into that?
Sure.
Sure. Her mother has been with Amira for pretty much the entirety of her medical treatment, and she can answer some of those questions.
So she definitely has. Absolutely.
A little loud with the cars.
Yes. So she has puncture wounds as well as lacerations, as well as stitches. This attack on her has not only been physical but mental as well. So we are animal lovers. We own animals ourselves. And we're in a neighborhood full of neighbors with animals. Now my daughter is traumatized, scared to go to a mall, and she's also traumatized and scared to go outside of her doors. And that is a huge issue for me. When she is in pain, I am in pain, as well as my whole entire family.
What was it like for you to see the videos that had been
It's
circulating?
very upsetting to see those videos. I was actually out of state when this incident occurred. I was not home. So to not be present and to be available for my child, who I received 100 phone calls from, and who was scared because she did not know that she was going to be attacked in the way that she was. You know, not only was she attacked, like I said, physically, but just sitting there waiting on a dog to unleash and to think that the handler will be able to get that dog off of you, and unfortunately was not able to. It was very upsetting for me. So it's been very upsetting and a nightmare for my family. Yes, Santana. First name Santana, last name Walls, Walls.
When the police report, it describes the situation where Amira started kicking. Can you describe what led up to that situation?
Well, I was not present, again, when the incident occurred. However, in those videos, you do not see my daughter kicking whatsoever. There was no reason for her to kick. She was just protecting herself. She was actually protecting her friend. She was not fighting. She was not fighting the officer. There was no reason to fight the officer whatsoever, because that officer was not attacking her at that moment.
And just to piggyback on that point, what is, as it relates to our lawsuit, we concentrate specifically upon the point in which the K-9 is now latched on to Amira at that point. Sure. As we stated before, the video evidence does not show any kicking whatsoever. And again, that has nothing to do with our lawsuit. Why did the K-9 be present and engaged in an altercation to begin with? The K-9 should have never been there. That was not the purpose. That was not the lawful purpose in which the security company had the K-9 present upon these facilities. Therefore, that should not never occurred, and that's not an issue in our lawsuit. What's most important here is that even after, let's say she did kick, okay, which she didn't, but let's say she did. Why was there not a release command given to the K-9 in which it would release its grip? That did not occur as well. We see for over a minute in that video in which this K-9 is latched onto Amira without any type of recall ability on behalf of the K-9 handler. So regardless as to why the initial latching took place, the fact that it was a failure to release its hold is a large part of our lawsuit. Amira is not in a position right now. Obviously, it's still soon after the situation. She's still dealing with a lot of pain, so she's not at a point where she's going to be talking today.
You said in your original statement, Attorney Lamar, that something to the effect of you believe the K-9 officer was multitasking. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so a K-9 handler is supposed to do just that, handle the K-9. They're not supposed to be engaged in breaking up altercations. As we can see on the video, there was at least 7 security officers that were present at that time. And one thing that you notice is that their uniforms say security. It doesn't say K-9 handler as the defendant in this case has. So again, what is industry standard is that K-9 handlers are supposed to only be involved in managing the actions in the control of the K-9, not also trying to break up fights at the same time. It's very foreseeable that if you're going to get involved in an altercation, if people are punching and kicking, there's a great possibility that you might get hit, you might get kicked, which is the reason why K-9 handlers are not supposed to engage in that type of situation. Instead, they're supposed to dispatch for security, monitor the situation, make sure that the K-9 is controlled at all times.
Do you believe the K-9 was legally here?
Legally is meaning being inside the mall?
In terms of working with the private security firm?
Well, to my understanding, there's not specific regulations for private security that law enforcement has. So again, we have questions regarding the credentials of the person handling the K-9. We do understand that the one defendant, the handler, came from Arizona. He had only been on his job for what we believe to be 4 months. So again, we have a lot of questions regarding the credentials, the training. So that is one of the things that we will explore as part of this lawsuit.
For Santana, what do you want to come out of this situation? And can you talk a little bit about Amira's recovery journey, what that looks like, how long?
Yeah, so Amira is a current college student. She is studying to become a doctor, as well as she's currently working in the medical field. She works at a hospital. So her career and who she is for taking care of people, caring for people. And like I said, that's what she was attempting to do at this time in this situation. What I would like to see come out of this, I would like to see better security in our malls. Is security necessary in our malls? Absolutely, it is. But to have an untrained handler and an untrained dog, that is not acceptable. So I would like to have proper security in our malls, and that's what I would like for it to come out of this. At this time, it's too early to know, but right now we are undergoing treatment several times a week. So right now she is in care, and it's good that I am able to, my family is available to support her and take her to those appointments. So right now she's in and out of care 3 or 4 times a week. Yes, she is currently out of work at this time due to this situation, absolutely. And that's very traumatizing to her and very upsetting to her as well, because she wants to be in the work field. She wants to be at work, and she wants to continue to go to school, and she is going to school online. So her classes have been switched virtual, so she's still able to take care of her classes and pursue her education.
Why was it important for you as a mom to come out here or talk to us on camera about this?
It's very important because I don't want to see anyone's child go through this. So I am 100% behind my daughter. Whether the good, the bad, or the ugly, I'm 1,000% behind her, and her family is 1,000% behind her. So I wanted to be here today to speak for her because she cannot speak for herself.
Do you know why everyone left the mall after this happened?
Well, I cannot speak for everyone else, but I can speak for Amira. Amira was scared. Amira was not aware that that was a security company. She thought that those were police officers, actually. And that's why she did not report the incident until the next day. So she was not aware that the incident was not reported, and she didn't go and report the incident with the intention that it was not reported. She was going to give her side no matter what.
And then just wanted to get your guys' side. I know some people have told us
I have not heard of any of those type of rumors. Obviously, when a case like this goes viral, there's going to be people that always have narratives, regardless to how untrue those things are. Never have been brought that out. I think that those are just patently untrue. No.
Absolutely not.
Is there a monetary value on this trade mark?
We don't have a monetary value. I mean, obviously, our main priority right now is to ensure that she's getting the proper treatment and care. She's now been referred to several specialists. So, of course, medical bills are compounding. So, again, we want to make sure that she gets the best treatment available. She's still young, 19 years old. She has her whole life ahead of her. So, again, we want to make sure that she has that. But we leave it to a jury. We will leave this for a jury to be able to look at all of the evidence, look at her medical treatment, and be able to provide a number. This is not about money. I mean, when she went to the mall back on March 28th, she didn't have any intent that she would be a plaintiff in a lawsuit 2 weeks later. That was not foreseeable. Unfortunately, it's because of the negligent and reckless acts of the defendants in which we named in this lawsuit as to why she's here today. So again, we will just work to try to get, her the best resolve that we can. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.